30 yıldır teknoloji endüstrisinde önemli çalışmalar yapan, son olarak da Davos'ta yapay zeka konusunda bir konuşmaya imza atan Daniel Doll-Steinberg aramızda.
But the next step is very much, if we can start putting technology on bacteria and onto cells, then those technologies can be integrated into our body. And my worry about that in the short term is actually those people that can afford to do it become more able than the people that can't afford to do it.
Oksijen TV'den hepinize merhaba. Bugün yine yapay zeka konusunda güzel bir sohbete imza atacağımızı umuyoruz. 30 yıldır teknoloji endüstrisinde önemli çalışmalar yapan, son olarak da Davos'ta yapay zeka konusunda bir konuşmaya imza atan Daniel Doll-Steinberg aramızda. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Kendisiyle yeni kitabını konuşacağız. Türkçe'ye de Dizginlenemeyen ismiyle çevrildi. Öncü teknolojilerin kontrol edeceği bu yeni dünyada söz hakkımız olacak mı diye bir alt başlığı var kitabın. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'd like to start by reading a quote from your book. By 2030, the AI component alone of new frontier technologies could deliver an almost $16 trillion contribution to the global economy and replace up to 30% of current total hours worked, hugely impacting as many as 1 billion people. So I'd like to start by asking this question. Many people compare this AI revolution to the Industrial Revolution. Do you agree with this? Do you think really we are experiencing a paradigm shift?
Well, firstly, yes, I think we are experiencing a paradigm shift. And it's interesting that you mentioned the Industrial Revolution, because the Industrial Revolution started in the late 1700s, 1780, and lasted about 200 years. And a lot of the structures that we have today in the world, like our education systems, our society, our governance, our finance systems, are built around the Industrial Revolution, which was moving from landowners to industrialists. And also the type of jobs that people were doing changed from manual labor to more cognitive labor. And so that was an enormous shift in the way that people and society were structured. And these technologies are doing the same thing, but this time it's impacting the way that we operate mentally. So it's a cognitive revolution rather than an industrial revolution. And so absolutely it is a paradigm shift. It is moving from the people that run industries and the structures that were created to run the industrial world to a structures and people that are running the technical world and the cognitive world. And so what we're seeing at the moment is a movement of power, subtly and also overtly, obviously, from people that run industries to people that run technical companies. And we can see that. I mean, just one company like Microsoft is worth more than the top 100 companies in the UK. And 40 years ago, it hardly existed. Some of the companies, like Meta, didn't exist 20 years ago. And they have a couple of $1 trillion valuation. And it's because they are changing the way that we operate. And the reason that quote is important is it highlights the enormous shift of what we're going to see. These are going to change productivity. They're going to change the way that we operate. And a lot of our jobs are process-oriented. And these technologies are very good at managing processes.
At the beginning of your book, you are talking about a big reboot of world in 2025. And you were talking about this in 2030, in 2020, I think. And what kind of a reboot is this?
Well, it's the start. It's not, we're not going to wake up in 2025 and find a completely different world. We are starting to see this change of a new world. When I wrote this in 2020, it was during lockdown. It was a lockdown project for me. I had some more time on my hands to think about the future and how all these technologies were combining. And it was obvious to me, playing with technologies like GPT from OpenAI in 2020, looking at where quantum computing was going. I'd already been very experienced in the blockchain industries. I could see where communications were going and immersive technologies. I was starting to think that by 2025, technologies like AI were going to be unleashed on the world. In the book, for instance, I put Sam Altman as the 5th most powerful person in 2020. When I sent it to friends to read the first versions, they were going, who's Sam Altman? In fact, my co-author, Stuart Leaf, as late as at the beginning of 2021 was saying, Sam Altman shouldn't be at number 5. No one knows who he is. I said, that's the problem. I think I was 2 years too late, actually. I think the end of 2022, early 2023 was when the world woke up and realized these technologies were coming. So it's even faster than I thought. And the reboot is not the complete change of the system. As I say, it's the start of the process. And we can see that with the enormous acceleration of some of these technologies. I mean, AI, or GPT, which no one had heard of in 2022, everybody was talking about for the beginning of 2023. It was either going to change the world positively or it was going to create the end of the world. That was just with the text engine. Now we have image generation, we have video generation. It's only a year later. And these technologies, as they start moving towards different industries, are starting to make people realize very quickly the opportunities and threats. I was at an event 2 weeks ago in Palm Springs, which is the Hollywood Professional Association, which had the top people from Hollywood there, 750 of them. Sora had just been announced, which is text to video. And suddenly it was a threat and opportunity to them. And all they talked about for those 4 days was Sora and what Sora meant. As people start realizing what is happening, they will start to realize this. Now, the reboot can be very positive for us, or it could be very negative for us. But it could also be very positive for some people and very negative for others. Yeah. And therefore, what I'm urging in this book is, as these technologies come along, and there are going to be other ones like quantum computing is now starting to reach the stage that GPT was like in 2020. You know, so we're 2 to 3 years out of some significant opportunities in that space. What I'm urging is people make these technologies to benefit them and get involved, because then they will benefit more people. If they ignore them and let them be created in other people's image, then they won't be suitable for them.
And also you're urging people to reinvent everything. I'm quoting again, reinventing the economy, reinventing work, education, information and communication, control, the planet, humans, humanity, and reinventing technology itself.
I'm urging that. I mean, it is inevitable. You know, these technologies are going to do 2 things. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to transform our industries. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the legal profession, they're going to transform the way that lawyers operate. If you look at the Hollywood and movie creation, they're going to change the way that movies are created and transferred and consumed. That's the first thing they're going to do. But the second thing they're going to do is they're going to change the underlying basis of where we operated. So the legal industry is based on law. Hollywood is based on storytelling. But those underlying things, law and storytelling, have been around since the beginning of humanity. Yeah. Particularly storytelling, but they have been created and developed in a way that humans can operate and the way that we operate today. When these technologies, and it's when, not if, start managing storytelling, when they start managing law, they're going to do it in a completely different way to us. And we're going to have to accept that the first step is transformation, but the second step is disruption. And our very processes are going to change. And what I'm suggesting in this book is, if those processes, underlying processes, are going to change, the more people that are involved in creating the processes, the more likely they are that the outcome will be favorable to those people. Mm-hmm. If they ignore it and let law get created or storytelling, these technologies are being exceptionally good at taking control of storytelling. Storytelling is very important. If for instance, Turkey or the EU decide that they're not going to allow these technologies, they're going to be built anyway. It just means that in 10 years' time, their way of living and their culture and their stories and their people are going to be not the people controlling these technologies. And that is tragic, because the world is an amazing place because we have different cultures, we have different viewpoints, we have different people, and these technologies should be developed and adopted in a way that meets what they want, not just what a few people think they want.
Yeah, and another tragic thing maybe, the AI technology is developing exceptionally fast and people cannot keep up with it. So how do we manage to balance the human factor and AI factor? Do you see a near future when the final decisions are left to AI?
I think, again, that's probably inevitable. If we wind back to the start of the desktop era, there were a lot of functions that were done by humans, accounting on pieces of paper, there were typewriting pools, there were all these jobs with calculators. They don't exist anymore because the computers are just better. Spreadsheets are better than the calculator on a piece of paper. Word processor is better than the typewriter. So this is going to happen. There are very few people using calculators and pieces of paper. In most businesses, they're using spreadsheets. There are very few people writing letters on typewriters. The computer is just better. In fact, they don't write letters anymore, they email them. So all those functions have been taken over. So this is inevitable. The real question is, when we create the use of these technologies, so the underlying technology itself is built by big tech companies and other companies. We don't know where that's going to end. But the layer on top needs to be modified and created by the people that are using them for the people that are their users. And that is, the sooner we start to do that, and the sooner we start to use these technologies in a way where we understand.
But how about the critical decisions like war decisions, the morality aspect?
Look, you're asking a question I really can't answer yet. We don't know what the future of these technologies is and how that moves. I mean, certainly at the moment, one could argue that because these technologies have taken over a lot of the storytelling, 25 years ago, people got everything from newspapers and from news channels, etc. And it was all the information was created by them. It was created by the movie studios, etc. Now, not just did the social media change the distribution, they actually changed the creation. So you've got a lot of people getting their information from sources that may or may not be correct. Now, your question is a really, really important and good one. Are we ever going to come to the situation like the movies of the 80s, like War Games, etc., where the computers actually take over the decisions? Now, that will be a decision for people to make at that point. I hope that critical decisions like whether we go to war or not are made by people that have a desire not to go to war rather than a desire to go to war. And we don't know what a computer will think.
And in your book also you're telling about the changing human, which you call human 2.0. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the first part of that is the short-term one, which is these technologies are very good at managing health. We wear Apple Watches, we wear rings that can monitor our health, and that can provide much better health care for people that have access to those technologies. The Apple Watch can determine whether your heart's got problems. So that is the first step, which is the implementation of extremely good health care, which increases longevity, etc., etc. The second part is what people like Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink, what various universities are doing with bacteria, which is adding technology that can be inserted into humans. So we've already seen that Elon Musk put a chip in someone's brain, but I think it was the third time it's happened. I don't think he was the first.
Yeah.
So that was the one that people looked at because it's Elon Musk, but it's happening. And initially that's for improving, for correcting issues that people have with, inability to walk, or et cetera, et cetera. But eventually it will be there to enhance them. But the next step is very much, if we can start putting technology on bacteria and onto cells, then those technologies can be integrated into our body. And therefore we become not a cyborg or a Terminator type species, but we become a species which is enhanced. And my worry about that in the short term is actually those people that can afford to do it become more able than the people that can't afford to do it. And we have a two distinct species in effect, which are the people that enhance. And so one of the things that we try not to do, Stuart and I, in this book is say what we think should be the outcome. What we're saying is these are the possible outcomes, these are the things that people are doing. Everybody needs to start considering what that possibility is and deciding how they're going to be involved in that process. What are we going to be teaching our children about the possibilities of these things? What are we going to be talking to our teachers at school about? What are we talking to our academics? What are we talking to our leaders? Because you know, the thing is, this is inevitable. People will continue building these technologies because they're very effective. Your first question was the right first question. If it creates just a $16 trillion economy with one part of this technology in 6 years, everybody that wants to be part of that is going to be racing towards the delivery of that.
And should change.
I think the control of the world is going to be like the Industrial Revolution. Landowners to industrialists. We're going to now move from the industrialists to the tech controllers. My position in this book is if you are actively involved in the way that you use these technologies and the way that you consider these technologies and working with people that you know to try and adopt and adapt these technologies to suit you, then you will be part of that controlled structure. You know, a lot of people in the blockchain world talk about a decentralized world. I'm not a great fan of that world, but what I am a great fan of is a world where more and more people are part of the solution and part of the controlled structure. And at the moment, it's a very few people that are controlling this.
It was a great pleasure to have you here, Mr. Steinberg. Tekrar kitabı hatırlatmak istiyorum. Dizginlenemeyen, Daniel Doll-Steinberg'in kitabı. Öncü teknolojilerin kontrol edeceği bu yeni dünyada söz hakkımız olacak mı? Herkese tavsiye ediyoruz.